Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Today I'm presenting you the week 1 update to the Flicker Strike Radar. I've got to say, so far it's going really well. I'm really enjoying it. And I forgot to mute my phone. That happened in the last video too. Alright, it's muted now, I promise. In the last video, which was the day 2 and 3 update, you could see the character was pretty clunky to play, not particularly smooth, damage was pretty lackluster. But now, all those problems are gone. We're looking really good. Our damage, depending on how you read a POB, is anywhere from 8 to 20 million damage per second. We've had some fantastic upgrades over the last few days, which was largely funded through low tier beast farming. However, now that I've got some upgrades, I'm moving up into tier 16s now, and it's still going really well. At the end of the last video, I mentioned I was going to run 160 maps with the Bestiary scarabs. That went okay. I got extremely unlucky, and in 160 maps, I didn't find a single Craicic Chimeral, I can't remember what they're called. Even though I got really unlucky without getting any of those beasts, I did find 19 of the plagued arachnids, and they're worth about 90 chaos each or thereabouts, about 0.4 divines. So I got 19 of those, which was a nice boost. That's about 9 divines for all of them or thereabouts. And in total, I believe I made about 22 divines. It's a little hard to tell, but about 22 divines over 160 maps. So it was pretty decent. I worked out roughly how much money I made per map, because I think your profit per hour is going to vary greatly depending on how much you've got invested in your character, how fast you can go, and all of that. I believe the profit per map was about 25 chaos after everything. I mean, you don't have to pay for maps, we're not paying for any sextants. The only thing you're paying for is a rusted Bestiary scarab, which was 1 to 1.5 chaos each, and then you're paying 3 chaos on the map device for your essences. And I sold all my essences in bulk in one hit. I sold 250 maps worth for 11 divines, I think, which comes out to about 10 chaos orbs per map, minus 3 chaos orbs that you have to pay to the map device. So you make about 7 chaos per map just from essences, and then the remainder of it is bubblegum currency and the beasts that you actually find. I really think it's going to be hard to earn less per map than I did, seeing as I didn't get any of the Chimerals for 160 maps. I'm sure if you tried it, your luck would be a lot better than mine. Towards the end of the farming, my character was able to do the Strand and the Belfry maps in about 108 seconds on average. That's including coming back into my hideout, putting stuff in the stash, and then putting a new map in. I included all that. It was about 108 seconds on average. I did a 10 map test and I had a stopwatch going just to see how quick I could go. I was try-harding pretty hard though. I think my average would have been more like 2 minutes per map. Just, you know, I was watching TV on the side or listening to music or something. As for our gear, we've made a heap of upgrades. We've upgraded nearly everything. I've got a new Paradoxica here with attack speed and blood rage. It's still not the exact one that I should have technically, but it's pretty bloody good. I paid 7 divines for this. I got a heat shiver. This is probably the biggest upgrade I got, was this heat shiver here. Even without the Flicker Strike enchant, it's extremely worth it. If the enemy is frozen, it doubles my damage. Just straight up doubles my damage, which is incredible. So unless you're fighting a map boss or a Pinnacle Guardian, everything's frozen. So incredible item, just doubles your damage. And then the Flicker Strike enchant is excellent. I only paid 1.5 divines for this helmet. Super worth it. I upgraded my Yoke of Suffering, as I said I would. I just got all res and elemental resistances. I'm strapped for Ellie res. It's really tight. Like I got a little bit of fire and cold on there, but it's tight. It's really tight. I upgraded both my rings. Got some intelligence, crit multi, and damage per frenzy charge on here. And on this one was strength, life, resistances, and a bit of damage. A really nice and really cheap upgrade was these gloves here. I had the Tanuahi gloves, but the +1 max frenzy was so cheap. I wish I realized earlier. I think I paid 50 chaos. Yeah, there you go, 40 chaos. 40, 50, 60 chaos, whatever, doesn't matter. Extremely great upgrade and super cheap. Super cheap. I also got an enchantment on my boots, chance to avoid being stunned if you've killed recently, and with this sort of character you have always killed recently, which brings us to stun immunity down here. We have 36% normally, and then with the 80% we avoid all stuns. The shield I haven't upgraded yet, although I would like to. I'm just not 100% sure what I want in there. I do want chance to avoid elemental ailments, at least 30%, because that would bring us up to ailment and immune here for ignite and chill, and shock, of course. But yeah, just not sure what stats I want on there. I also got a bottled faith here, which is just another nice damage boost. You could use instilling orbs on this instead of the enkindling orbs and have it just use when charges reach full, or you could alternatively have it use when you hit a rare or unique enemy. That'd be another thing to do. Where is it? Here it is here. Could go for that. I went for the increased effect just because I only use it on the map boss or on essence mobs, but extremely good upgrade. Not too expensive, a few divines. It's not too bad though. As for our jewels, I believe this one has not changed. I have gotten the +1 power charges on here though, which is a decent upgrade. It was like 5% damage, that one node. And what else have we got in here? I believe this jewel might be new here. Attack speed, res, crit multi, life. This jewel's definitely the same. Oh, we got a Watcher's Eye. Yeah, this was a pretty big upgrade. This is a Hatred Precision Watcher's Eye. I believe this was about 13% more damage, but it cost me 8 divines. So pretty expensive upgrade, but definitely worth it. I also forgot to mention in my shield here, another YouTuber commented and told me I can put less duration in here. And what that does is, because I've got Aspect of the Cat in this item, the less duration affects it. So now my charges don't drop off at all. I just have permanent charges, which is why I grabbed the extra power charger on the tree, because they're up permanently now. And all I had to do was put this support gem in here. As for the path of building, I will have linked this in the description or in the comments, so check down below if you want to grab it for yourself. There's a few things I want to point out on here. As it stands right now, our damage here is 8.5 million. You remember before I said depending on what I click in here, it's either 8 to 20 million. So let's go through some of the stuff we can do. First one is the big one, Guardian Pinnacle Boss. If you're just running around in a map, you don't need this, and that gives us another 2 million damage. I do have Adrenaline and Onslaught ticked in here as well. Those are up 90% of the time, so I have them both ticked. But yeah, it's about 1 million damage for that one, and yeah, 500,000 for that one. So maybe 1.5, 2 million damage just across those two. Whether you tick them or not is up to you. We are always leeching, and actually I'll go over this because this is important. With the gloves here, Tanuahi, it gives Adrenaline for 2 seconds and Onslaught for 4 seconds when your life is filled by Life Leech. Now, I've taken a passive down here somewhere. Skills cost life instead of 30% of mana. So every single time I cast Flicker Strike, my life goes down by like 10 points. I spend here it is here. I spend 11 life. So I spend 11 life, I hit the monster, and then it regens that 11 life almost instantly, and then I get my Adrenaline and my Onslaught back up. The only time Adrenaline and Onslaught are not up is if the monsters hit me for 90% of my life, and it takes me a few seconds to regen back to full. So we are always leeching, and we almost always have Onslaught and Adrenaline. It's definitely close to 90% uptime. The enemy is ignited. If we untick that, you lose a bit of damage. However, it's ignited pretty frequently with the Heat Shiver, converting a lot of our damage, or not converting rather, adding fire damage. Is the enemy chilled? The enemy is always chilled because we're dealing cold damage. I've selected 20% chill and 20% shock on here. The shock comes from my Yoke of Suffering amulet, if you're wondering. Now, like this varies a lot. Like look at the damage if I get rid of that. It's 1 million damage just for that. And if I put it up to 40, it's 2 million damage. I have seen it at 15% and I've seen it at 45% shock. So I just selected 20% as a pretty conservative number. Sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 30, sometimes it's 40. But depending on what you type in there, your damage is going to change. The enemies are on Consecrated Ground. That's another really big damage boost. That comes from the Bottled Faith flask. That's 2 million damage when you push that flask, or 2.5 million damage even. So if we have all these things ticked, and the big one, which I haven't shown you yet, is the enemy frozen? If you tick this, the damage goes from 10 million to 20 million, which is coming from our Heat Shiver. You're going to see there the very last mod, gain 100% of cold damage as extra fire damage against frozen enemies. So you're not going to be freezing bosses, or at least I don't freeze bosses. Maybe you can freeze them if your damage is high enough. Maybe you need more crit multi. I'm not sure how it works. I think it might work like stuns, but I really don't know. So if you're not fighting a boss, your damage should be pretty close to 20 million. Maybe you don't have this flask up, 15 million. I normally put it on when I'm doing an essence mob, just to burst them down a bit quicker, because they're pretty tough sometimes, but they're really not too bad. I think I'll finish this video off with a map run example. I'm running tier 16 cemeteries at the moment. I'm trying out Legion, and I've got the Bestiary scarabs in there as well. I don't think the Bestiary is as good in the higher tier maps. However, I don't know what else to put in there, and my Atlas tree already has the Bestiary stuff allocated. If you liked the video, please give us a like. Please consider subscribing if you want to see what we're doing next, and I'll see you next time. You might have noticed that my effective hit pool on Path of Building is quite low, and while it's no secret that Flicker Strike characters are notoriously squishy, while you're in a map, everything tends to be frozen or 40% chilled, so you're really not taking that much damage, and that's if the mob's damage gets through you. Like I got 80 or 89% spell suppression and 60 to 80% evade chance, and a little bit of block chance. So if by chance the monster is not frozen, you're still not going to be taking much damage. In mapping, the character holds its own very, very well, which I hope you're seeing in the background here. The only place where it might fall short is when you're doing bosses. I tried Uber Exarch before, and when I didn't evade his attacks, it just one-shot me. So it doesn't feel too good for that. I think once I get enough damage though, that won't matter. I'll kill him before he even swings his little sword. But yeah, during mapping, the character holds its own very well. You really don't die that much. I've died 46 times, which sounds like a lot, but in my defense, the vast majority of those was from Crucible monsters. I was juicing the Crucible up to 100% a few times just to level stuff up a bit quicker and try and spawn some unique monsters for the achievements. But those were really the only times that I died. Or when it's a skill issue, like sometimes I'm just not paying attention and the exploding fireballs that chase you around, when they catch up to you, they hurt a bit. So if you're paying attention, unlike me, you're not going to have any troubles with survivability in your map whatsoever.